Good morning. This is a very short lecture on how to locate the moon at any time of the day or night, at any phase of the moon. Okay, so if you take a look right here at my diagram, I have the sun and I have the earth in the middle, and I just want to make a note that I am looking down at the north pole of the earth. Okay, we're not going to move the earth, we're going to let it just sit there. But remember, the sunlight is coming from the sun. And so if I look at the moon at any point around here, right, the side that's facing the sun will be lit up and the side that's facing away from it will be dark. I'm going to go ahead and shade all of these dark sides. By the way, the earth also will be dark. Okay. So actually, another little important note from this perspective, looking down at the North Pole, you need to know that the Earth rotates in this direction. Okay, why is that important? Well, what I want to do is put little people on here, and this could be you, right? So I want to put a little person right here, and I want to ask the question right here. A person is standing right here, and the sun is right above their head, right? And so what time would it have to be? And the answer is, this is 12 p.m. or noon, right? This is noon. And if you notice something, this is kind of an important idea. I want to show you that this phase of the moon will be right above my head at the same time. So if you imagine your eye looking in this direction, you can see that all you can see is this dark side of the moon. This is our new moon, right? That's our new moon. So when is the new moon going to be directly overhead? The answer is at 12 noon. Okay, great, cool. So this diagram that I'm showing you is going to be a way for you to figure out the time that any phase of the moon rises, is highest overhead, and sets. But the way that I do it is I just worry about that middle part. When is it highest overhead? So if you notice something, if a person is standing right here, it's 12 noon, what time do you think it might be if they're standing on the boundary between day and night, right? What's another name for that, by the way? Another name for that is sunset. And if I had to put a time down, remember that it takes the Earth 24 hours to make one rotation. What would be a reasonable time? You might say something like 6 p.m. Okay. Now, imagine you're looking up at the moon, right? You would see the right side lit up and the left side dark. This is exactly what we call the first quarter moon. The first quarter moon, okay? The first quarter moon is directly overhead at 6 p.m. All right, let's go ahead and put our little person right here on the opposite side of the Earth from where we started. So if this is 12 noon, when we're exactly across from the sun, right, across from the sun, then in fact, it's the middle of the night, and the name for that is midnight. That's actually the name for it, right? The middle of the night, and it's about 12 a.m., right? 12 a.m. If you take a look right here, what phase of the moon is it? Well, if we look up, we see nothing but the lit up part. This is exactly what we call the full moon, okay? And our last one right here, we're standing on the boundary between darkness and light, right? And I think by now you probably figured this out. If this is 12 noon, 6 p.m., 12 midnight, what do you think this might be? And if you said sunrise, you got it. And if I put a time, it's about 6 a.m., 6 a.m. Now, in this case, you have to turn your body upside down or flip it upside down if you want. And I'll flip it upside down. If I look up at the moon, now I see the left-hand side lit up and the right-hand side dark. And this is exactly what we called the third quarter. So the third quarter moon is highest overhead at 6 a.m. or sunrise. Okay, so we're going to make a little chart real quickly, and I'm going to show you how you can get any phase of the moon then. So we'll start off with the phase, and then we'll make a rise time. We'll put the highest time, and we'll put the set time. Okay, and we'll start off with new. Okay, so when is it highest? The new moon is at 12 noon, 12 p.m. Okay, so if you think about it, actually, it's kind of a nice little idea, right? That one day is about 12 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that if the highest time is 12 noon, that the time that it rises is about 6 hours before, and the time that it sets is about 6 hours later. So I'm going to put 6 a.m., right? And I'm going to put 6 p.m. Now, the real answer is sunrise and sunset, but it's close enough, right? It's good enough for what we're going to do. I'm going to leave a little space, and then I'm going to put first quarter. Yeah, I'm going to abbreviate just a bit. Sorry about that. Okay, so when was this first quarter moon highest? The answer was 6 p.m. So same idea. Let's subtract 6 hours. Well, you get 12 p.m., right? 12 noon. That's actually the real answer, noon. And the real answer is sunset. And then what's this answer? Well, the real answer is 12 a.m. or midnight, okay? And I think my chart is going to need to grow just a little bit. Skip a little space. Next one is our full moon. And that would be highest overhead at 12 a.m., midnight, which means that it rises at about 6 p.m. and it sets at about 6 a.m. It's exactly the opposite of the sun. So one of the neat things about the full moon is it is opposite the sun. It is rising when the sun is setting, sunset. It is highest when the sun is nowhere to be seen at midnight. And it is setting when the sun is rising. Sunrise is what I'm going to have here. Okay, next one is my third quarter. Oops, I'm going to spell it out. Third quarter. And we said that the third quarter is highest at 6 a.m. or sunrise, which means that it must rise at 12 a.m. and it must set at 12 noon. Okay. Now the last step is to repeat the new again, right? We're going to put new, and I'm going to put in the same times, 12 p.m. and I have 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Okay, for the new moon. Now, what's going to fit in between? Well, in between the new moon and the first quarter is called a waxing crescent. So then what time is a waxing crescent going to be rising? And the answer is between 6 a.m. and 12 noon. It's going to be sometime here, sometime between these two times. When is a waxing crescent going to be highest overhead? And the answer is between 12 and 6 p.m. And what time is it going to be setting? And the answer is between 6 p.m. and midnight, right? That's what time it's going to be setting. Between the first quarter, which is halfway lit up, and the full moon, what do we have? We have a waxing gibbous. And the same idea, when is it going to be rising? Between 12 noon and 6 p.m. When does it reach the highest point? Between 6 p.m. and midnight. And when does it set? And the answer is between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. Between the full moon and the third quarter, we have a waning gibbous. And when does it rise? Between 6 p.m. and 12 midnight. When does it actually get highest? Between 12 and midnight. And when does it set? Between 6 a.m. and noon. So you would see it in the morning actually. And the third quarter, between the third quarter and the new, we have the waning crescent. Same idea. When does it rise? Between 12 midnight and 6 a.m. When is it highest? Between 6 a.m. and noon. And when does it set? Between noon and 6 p.m. You would see that one during the day. So those are the phases of the moon. And remember that the lunar cycle, the synodic period, which is the lunar cycle that we see of the phases, is 29.5 days, which is very close to 30 days, which is what we call a month. The word month comes from moon. Okay, thank you.